UFC 311 just wrapped up, and all I gotta say is, what a great way to kick off the year 2025 when it comes to pay-per-views. Because, I mean, man, this pay-per-view, forget the card as a whole, like the prelims where there's a lot of decisions. I'm talking about the pay-per-view, the main card where people paid to watch these final five fights. Everything was amazing. Like, four finishes and only one decision, which was the co-main event, which was the only fight I got wrong, unfortunately. But Rainer de Ritter did what he was supposed to do to Kevin Holland. I predicted it. I predicted he'd take him down and submit him. Called it. A lot of people picked Kevin. I don't know why. It felt like an obvious pick that Rainer was gonna win that. I said Holland at middleweight can't deal with grapplers. Rainer had size, high level grappler, former two Division 1 FC champ. There's no way a journeyman bum like Holland was beating him. And then Jailton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak was a great fight. I mean, crazy grappling action in round one. I mean, crazy round one in general. The scrambles were great. It looked like Spivak might have had the upper hand in the grappling, but then Jailton surprised him with power and then finished him on the ground. I mean, already two finishes to start the night. And then Prohaska versus Hill, boy, what an insane fight that was. That fight lived up to the hype. I waited 2 years for that fight. I'm a fan of both guys, more so Yuri, so I was like super happy and satisfied that Yuri won. But I do feel bad for Jamal. You know, I'm a fan of his. I wish he could have proved himself that he could beat a championship level fighter in their prime, but that's two fights getting stopped by champions who were in their primes, like got smoked by Poatan, and then not smoked by Yuri. He won round two against Yuri, but got destroyed, got dropped in round one, and then got finished in round three. Because, like my prediction, I said once Prohaska gets his game going, it's very hard to deal with him. Only Alex can deal with that style because to beat Yuri, you got to keep it a technical fight. But Alex can beat him being technical, but has enough firepower to nuke Yuri if Yuri gets too crazy. Jamal has power, not enough power. And Jamal isn't that good defensively like Alex is. He's not as good with rolling with punches or countering. So I just knew that Yuri was going to be able to be Yuri against Jamal. And Jamal is just too open, man. Like, he got dropped because he tried to throw like an uppercut or something. I had to watch the replay again, but that's why he got dropped. He went for an uppercut, chin in the air, and Yuri countered him with a big straight down the middle. I couldn't tell if it was a left or a right because Yuri's constantly switching stances. Round two, it looked like Jamal was kind of turning things around. He was outpointing Yuri, but that's because Yuri was showing Jamal way too much respect, respected his power, kind of played a technical game. And whenever Yuri plays that technical game with a technical striker like Rakic or Hill, he falls behind on points. But then we saw in the third round, when he gets going and he starts pumping up that volume and pressure, he becomes very, very hard to deal with. And Yuri hits like a truck. I knew if he could put hands on Jamal, he could finish him. And I've always thought for 2 years that Yuri would knock this dude out. I've always felt Yuri would beat him. And it just sucks that this didn't happen when Hill was champion. If only Hill didn't tear his Achilles, because then Yuri would have been a two-time champion. We're looking at Yuri as a two-time champion. No defenses because, you know, he loses to Pereira on his first defense, but I would have rather the story play out that way where Poatan, instead of beating Yuri for the vacant belt, he beats him directly for his belt, and I would get the satisfaction as a Yuri fan seeing Yuri at least wear that belt one more time. But it is what it is, man. Yuri proved himself tonight to be maybe the second best. That's still speculative because he didn't beat Jan Blachowicz, he didn't beat Ankalaev, and Ank is fighting Poatan. And I mean, if Ank beats Poatan and Jan loses to Olberg, you have to consider Yuri and Alex the top two best. Like, there's like sort of like a Holloway Volk dynamic between the two where Pereira's Volk and Yuri's like Max, who will just continue destroying any contender but won't be able to beat the champ. But hopefully Ankh beats Alex, not because I dislike Alex. I like Ankh, but I want Yuri to have a more favorable style matchup for when he fights for the belt again. And, well, Pereira might get a rematch, but still, it opens up the door for Yuri to get a title shot. And I think Yuri stylistically matches well with Ankh, but I just don't see him winning a trilogy with Poatan. And I mean, Hill was talking all that crap. He was never going to beat Alex Pereira, no matter how many times they run that back. He's getting rocked and dropped and busted up by Yuri. Yeah, Alex owns him, or not. Well, yeah, unfortunately, because I like Hill, but it's more unfortunate because I love Yuri that he will never be able to beat Alex or be champ as long as Alex is around. But I'm happy to get that prediction right. I was 1 round off. I picked Yuri in 2. Round 2, where he's usually at his best, he kind of took his foot off the gas, but it was the 3rd round, so 1 round off, but I predicted Yuri by TKO. And now the co-main event, Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Great fight, high level fight. I was wrong. I picked Umar and I was a little overconfident, but Merab is good, and I did say one way Merab might win. His chance to win this fight is simply his cardio, because I knew that if Umar slows down, Merab will not, and I did say there's a chance that Umar could fade in the final 3 rounds, and Merab could run away with rounds 3, 4, and 5. And that happened. I should have picked Merab. I picked against him against O'Malley. This day moving forward, I am never picking against the machine again. I mean, the wrestling early on canceled each other out, but the striking was kind of even in the 1st round, but then Umar, hurt him at the end of the round, but Merab being tough, just, he shook it off. Round 2 was close, but that was still slight edge to Umar, but barely. And then round 3, I thought maybe you could give it to Umar because of the takedown, but nah, that was a Merab round. And then Merab clearly won the 4th. I mean, Umar was breaking down, tiring out, and, succumbing to the takedowns a lot easier. And then the 5th round, same story, and it's all Merab. I was thinking there's a chance they could rob Merab, but nah, it was a clear win for Dvalishvili, and no one's beating him. O'Malley, you can forget that rematch. You're not winning. Peter Yan's my favorite in the division, and he has no chance to win, which does suck. I mean, maybe in a rematch, Umar could win. I think Umar is the only guy who can actually match with him because he can go up against the wrestling. It's just, this was a good learning experience for Umar. This was a good learning experience. I think if he can go back to the drawing board, I feel like Umar can beat any other bantamweight in the world, just not Merab. And he's still young. He can improve. And if he could just work on his pacing or cardio or find a way to adapt to Merab's pace, he could potentially win a rematch. But I think Umar is still a future champion. Merab's getting up there in age. I think Umar, he can get that belt when Merab's time is done. Because again, I think Umar beats everyone else. Unfortunately, Team Khabib, that was like their 1L, and poor Khabib was frustrated, but the main event, Islam Makhachev saved the night for Team Khabib when Makhachev went out there and smoked Moicano like I knew he would. I knew this would be an easy win. I picked Islam by round 1 sub, and that's exactly what happened. It was an easy win. People who were picking Moicano were going based off underdog bias, underdog guilt. It would have been funny and crazy to see Moicano win, but it was never happening. We can't forget this guy should have lost to Jalen Turner and was losing round 2 to BSD, and was fortunate that the fight was stopped because of BSD's cut. Moicano is he's just not a top-level lightweight, and I mean, okay, that one moment where he supposedly dropped Islam, it was a slip, and I knew it was a slip. The commentary, the bar I was at was overreacting. Makhachev was fine. And then the moment he slipped, he just went for a takedown. Easy takedown. Moicano tried to scramble up, and Islam immediately got the Darce. Similarly to what he did to Poirier, but quicker. And yeah, Islam breaks Khabib Nurmagomedov's title defense record, and he's 1 win away from tying Anderson Silva's 16-fight unbeaten streak. But now that he's won this fight, I don't want to hear any discrediting of Makhachev. It's not his fault that Sarukian was unreliable and pulled out. Islam showed up. Arman didn't. Islam defended his belt. He ended the win streak of Moicano, who had a good run. So we got to credit Makhachev with this win. Moicano has to go down as a good win as part of Islam's resume. And Islam is the lightweight GOAT. And I mean, as far as what's next, I think that I'm just reschedule the Arman fight, okay? If Arman is okay within like the next couple months, reschedule it for June, on a pay-per-view in the States probably, unless there's like a Saudi Arabia pay-per-view in June. Rebook that fight. It must happen. Umar versus Merab was a reminder of how good Arman versus Islam 2 is going to be. And if not, give Oliveira his rematch. But whatever happens, I'm glad Islam won and defended his belt, and he kind of made it clear that he's not moving up, that he's here to stay. He said, if anyone wants to step up to this lightweight title, come try me. So his next fight's going to be at lightweight, so he's not going to retire anytime soon. He's going to try to tie Silva's record, which is kind of cursed. But if anyone can do it, it's Islam. But if anyone could stop him from doing it, it's Arman. But if he beats Arman or Charles again, he's just even more goated. And then after that, maybe fight Ilya. And if he beats Ilya, even more goated. But if he moves up and wins the welterweight belt, you can't deny he's the GOAT of the sport. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Great night, satisfying night. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And be on the lookout for the next video.